Hi there again. This is Dr. Judith. It's want to share with you today about from Luke chapter 2, verse 41 through 50. Basically, this is a story about Jesus having gone to Jerusalem with his parents, as usual, for Passover, the feast of the Passover. And he was 12 years old at the time. And when they left to go back home, Joseph lingered, as the word says. It says in verse 43 of Luke chapter 2, when they had finished the days, as they returned, the boy, Jesus, lingered behind in Jerusalem. And Joseph and his mother did not know it. But supposing him to have been in the company, they went a day's journey and sought him among their relatives and acquaintances. So when they did not find him, they returned to Jerusalem seeking him. Now it was after 3 days they found him in the temple, sitting in the midst of the teachers, both listening to them and asking them questions. And all who heard him were astonished at his understanding and answers. So when they saw him, Joseph and Mary, they were amazed. And his mother said to him, "Son, why have you done this to us? Look, your father and I have sought you anxiously." And verse 49, which is what I want to talk with you briefly about today, Jesus says, "Why did you seek me? Did you not know that I must be about my Father's business?" I love that. What that says to me, I mean, Jesus Christ is Jesus Christ, even when he was a child. And even though he had not come to the fullness of his calling and what he was on earth to do, he was on his way there. And this is definitely a step in that direction. And even at the age of 12, because he was Jesus and boy all at the same time, he knew what his calling was. And that's what I want to deal with. I want to talk with you about commitment and obedience. That Jesus was obedient to the Father of the universe. He was obedient to God. Even as a 12-year-old boy, he was obedient to the point where he stayed back. Though his grown parents had gone along, he stayed back. Certainly he wasn't worried about any harm. He wasn't disturbed about anything, because he knew who he was. He knew what his calling was. And that is such a powerful thing. And I pray that we as human beings who are made in his image and who are walking on this journey in his image and, walking towards perfection, we'll never get there on this earth. But as we do that we find out what our calling is. We discover through him, through reading the word, through in prayers to him, asking him, what is it that you brought me here for, Lord? What is it that I'm supposed to do? Because I want to be about your business. I don't want to be about the world's business. I certainly don't want to be about my business, because that's confusing. I've tried that before. So to hear Jesus Christ in his own words, anything written in red is what he said. And so it is in red in Luke chapter 2, where he says, verse 49, where he says, basically, why were you searching for? You must have realized. But they didn't know, because verse 50 says, but they did not understand the statement which he spoke to them. So many times we can know our destiny. We can have a clear idea where we're headed. And even the people closest to us, who love us the dearest, who want the best for us, don't understand. And sometimes I can tell you for myself what has happened is that because they don't understand, I find myself trying to explain to them what my mission is, what my calling is. And recently God has been showing me, stop trying so hard. They don't understand. They can barely hear what you're saying with any clarity. So be about my business. Love, care for them, and continue to do what I tell you to do for them and towards them, but do not expect them to understand what you're doing for me on earth. Do not expect that every move that you make is going to look odd to them, because I'm sure as a 12-year-old, Jesus' behavior looked odd to his parents. They're adults. And it must have looked odd to them that their son would have done this without any kind of permission from them, without any say-so from them. Because when you know where you're headed, when you know what your call is, you really don't need a lot of permission except from the Father. So Jesus, as a boy, had permission from his Father to do what he was doing. But they didn't quite understand that. So my hope and prayer is that whoever is listening or watching this will, as you go through life and as we train our children and educate our children, that we will come to realize that when you're called to do something special, the Bible says that to whom much is given, much is required. And when you're given much to do, to try to explain that to others is not always the wisest thing. And they're not open to hearing it. If they're not on the same track that you are, if they're not traveling down the same road, if they don't have the same or similar understanding spiritually, and they don't have a relationship with the Lord for sure, they're not going to understand what you're saying. It kind of goes back to Joseph and his brothers when he told them about his dreams. They did not have what he had. They were not in the same position with the Lord. They did not have the relationship with God as he did. So what he heard from the Lord is not what they would have heard. So we need to stop trying, and I've been guilty of this, especially in the last several months, where I'm on this journey and I look odd to people, and I know that I do, and I sound odd because, I'm trusting the Lord despite how the circumstances look, and I'm holding on to his word, and I'm continuing to say it is well with my soul despite negativity, and people in the natural are saying, what is wrong with her? But they don't know what I know. They have not heard what I've heard from the living God. They don't have the relationship with Abba Father that I have. They probably have another relationship, but certainly not the one that I have. So to try to make people understand, it doesn't always work. It can be very futile. So this story, like I said, reminds me of Joseph and his brothers. He was trying to let them know what the dreams were about. They weren't ready to hear that, and you know what? They weren't supposed to understand, because destiny had to be fulfilled. And if they understood it, then he would not have reached his destiny, because they had to misunderstand in order to throw him in the pit. So Jesus' parents did not understand. They did not understand, but he knew what his mission was. He knew the plan that God had for him. He knew why he came to this earth, and he knew that he'd have to die to free us as sinners. Even at 12 years old, he had a pretty good inclination that he was about his Father's business. I pray for all of us that have heard this, and that we'll share it with others, and we'll encourage others to go to the Lord, to find out, to discover what is it that we have to do for him on earth. What is the business that he has decided that we should be doing for him? And then encourage each other to be about our Father's business. Until next time, this has been Dr. Judith. Do have a blessed day. Bye-bye.